I have to ask you, as a player, would you have been thumbs up or thumbs down on the pitch clock?
Oh, I think as a younger player, I would have been thumbs up. As an older player, I'd been thumbs down.
As a broadcaster now watching the sport and enjoying the sport, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Double thumbs up. Double thumbs up.
Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. On today's episode, we'll address the latest headlines coming out of Paramount Skydance. CEO David Ellison says he will move the company's headquarters out of California if California and other states succeed in blocking Paramount's planned $110 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. We'll hear from Variety's Todd Spangler on whether this is an empty threat or if Paramount is already starting to pack their bags. And then we have a real treat for baseball fans, my interview with Dodger great Orel Hershiser. Hershiser is getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Thursday, August 13th, recognizing his many years in the broadcasting booth. That was Hershiser you heard in the cold open. He offered his characteristically dispassionate analysis of the pitch clock that baseball introduced in 2023. Hershiser has now spent more time behind the microphone than he did on the mound during his 17 seasons in Major League Baseball. This sit-down interview was conducted in an unusual setting that was a first for me in 32-ish years of being in the business of interviewing people. But before we get to all of that, here are a few headlines just in this morning. Big surprising news for LA sports fans. Former Disney CEO Bob Iger and investor Josh Kushner are buying the Los Angeles Lakers for $12.5 billion. Iger and Kushner say in a statement that they are lifelong NBA fans who vow to build the Lakers back up to championship glory. Mark Walter, the head of Guggenheim, just bought the team last year from the Buss family. You need a scorecard to keep track of the owners. In other LA sports news, I'd like to thank Max Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers for winning last night's game against the Kansas City Royals with the walk-off home run in the 10th. It was a beautiful night to be at Dodger Stadium with baseball-loving friends. In non-sports news, Alex Cooper's Unwell media company has received an investment from Patrick Weitzel's firm. The deal values Unwell at $500 million. So not quite a unicorn, but getting there. It's pretty amazing what one podcast can build. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Of course, we couldn't get through a week without having Variety business editor Todd Spangler come on to update us on the latest jousting in the Parabros merger. Todd Spangler, thanks for joining me. Another day, another big Paramount headline.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So the news that surfaced late Monday night is that David Ellison had really had a very serious huddle with senior executives saying that the lawsuit in California, the antitrust effort to block the deal, is so egregious in his view in terms of political machinations around what should be decided by the invisible hand of the market. He is telling people if this goes through that he is prepared to move Paramount Pictures out of the Golden State. Todd, what is your sense? Is he serious or is this a bit of a fit of pique?
I think both things can be true, right? I think he's very frustrated and frankly a little bit desperate to close this deal, which he thought would be done by now, right? And so the way that he positioned this to the leadership team was that it is a business decision because starting October 1st, there is this $7 million a day ticking fee that kicks in that's payable to the Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders. So this is a cost-cutting move, he says. If the deal doesn't close and if California doesn't want our business, we will take our talents elsewhere. So he's saying process would start October 1st. That doesn't mean everybody is moving out of LA on October the 1st, but They're looking at other states.
Is there any discussion of what might become of that very big space in the 5,000 block of Melrose Avenue that has been home to Paramount Pictures for a very long time?
I think there are a bunch of options on the table. He set a 5-year horizon for migrating the studio business out of the state. So do they hold on to the lot? Do they sell it? I think ultimately they would sell it if they're really going to get out of California. But this is a guy who professes to love movies, and he loves Hollywood and the thrill of the big screen. And here he is turning his back on the heart of where the industry is, the epicenter of it. So it's kind of a weird situation.
It is a weird situation because on the one hand, with the way production has migrated outside of California, outside of the United States, it is more plausible than ever to have a production entity that is not based in the TMZ. On the other hand, obviously, this is a company and a CEO under immense pressure. We have never seen politics intersect with media M&A like this before. It is a whole new uncharted world.
In one sense, like the idea is pretty rational to say, like, look, we're going to pay lower taxes and have a lower cost base if we're based somewhere else. They're talking about Georgia or Texas, states like that, where the tax rate is lower.
Absolutely. Then to kind of the larger picture of what's going on with the litigation filed by the 12 state AGs led by Rob Bonta on the West Coast and Letitia James in New York. Any movement there? Because the last that you've reported is that there really are no settlement talks, which would be the thing in a perhaps more normal M&A process.
Yeah, certainly Allison is under pressure to reach a settlement ASAP. But Rob Bonta and the states have not said or indicated that there's something that would make them agree to any kind of settlement. It would have to take a structural remedy, not a behavioral. So this idea of like, we guarantee 30 films to movie theaters every year, whatever you think of that promise, Bonta says that's not what he's looking for. He's looking for divestiture, basically. Ultimately, he really thinks that the deal just needs to be stopped.
This is just being tried in the court of public opinion, and the losers here are the hardworking folks at Paramount, at CBS, at Warner Brothers, at HBO. You talk to people there and they say, you know what? We're making our shows, we're marketing our movies, we're doing what we can because we're just keeping head down.
There is anxiety at both places because Paramount has signaled they're going to chop some heads, lots of heads, once the deal goes through, if the deal goes through.
And we've still got a GPS on people like Casey Bloys and Channing Dungey and DeLuca and Pam Abdi. There's still very little sense of what the structure will be. Understandably so, Paramount at this point can't go out there and say, this is what it's going to be, especially given what they're dealing with.
Right. They're prohibited from doing that.
Other than March 2nd, which is the ostensible trial start date, is there any other date we should be watching for?
I mean, the meter starts running October 1st. So that's going to escalate things and really drive Paramount to try to find a way out of this mire that they're in. I mean, they're frozen, right? And you've got big financial backers, the large banks, Citi and Bank of America. They're not probably too bent out of shape that they've committed a bunch of debt financing. But some of the other investors, Apollo and the Middle Eastern funds, they've committed money that's just sitting there, not doing anything. So they're going to want some answers pretty quickly.
Even Jesse Armstrong of Succession, you couldn't script a more volatile and, quite frankly, compelling drama of human ambition and the art of smoke and mirrors and magic and light. Todd, thank you for being on the case each and every day.
All right. Good to talk to you.
We are sitting in Orel Hershiser Chevrolet in Chino at the corner of Central and Riverside.
Yes, indeed, folks. My interview with Orel Hershiser was conducted in the showroom of Orel Hershiser Chevrolet in Chino, which is about 40 miles east of Los Angeles. The car dealership is one of many ventures that the legendary Dodger pitcher has gone into since his playing days ended in 2000. In preparation for Hershiser receiving his Hollywood Walk of Fame star, we sat down to talk in depth about his move into broadcasting, what he learned from Dodger greats on and off the field, and how the depth of his Christian faith has helped guide his career. And yes, in 32 years as a professional journalist, this is the first sit-down interview I've ever done at a car dealership. You've been a star in this town for a very long time, but it'll be enshrined now on that famous Walk of Fame. How did the broadcasting come about? Was it something you thought about in your playing days?
I thought a lot about everything in my playing days because the opportunities are endless when you're a player. And I think it's because you start to perform very well. And then in the city like Los Angeles, and then traveling around with, the heads of PR of the Dodger organization, they introduce you to a lot of people. Having a manager like Tommy Lasorda introduces you to a lot of people. And so you learn that there's a lot of things going on around you. And if you realize you're not going to pitch forever and play forever, you might want to think about what are you going to do with those years that are greater than your playing days. When I broke in, I'm probably thinking maybe I can stay here for 4 or 5 or 7 years. I ended up staying in the big leagues for 17. So the planning on what you're going to do after the career, from manager to general manager to scout to pitching coach to broadcaster. But the thing about broadcasting in those days is if you left the field, you usually weren't allowed to come back to the field. So if you decided I want to be a manager or a coach or maybe the front office, you needed to stay within the baseball organization because it was a one-way street out of there if you went to broadcasting. It was like the dark side. But people started to break that culture. People like Joe Torre broke that culture. Bill Parcells broke that culture. Other people from the field of their expertise started to break the culture of coming back. And so I started to look at broadcasting as a possibility that I could toggle back and forth. So broadcasting became a more realistic possible idea in retirement, where, I started on the field in retirement as an associate general manager, and then I moved to a pitching coach. And then I was moving back to the front office to be assistant to the president of the Texas Rangers. And in the midst of that, did not feel like that was a good fit for me. I'm not as much a political animal as I am I have very few filters when it comes to what I see and what I want to talk about. And so that doesn't fit in a front office very well. So I called ESPN at the request of my wife, and she said, "You did some broadcasting, maybe you should try that." And I talked to a man named Norby Williamson, who was introduced from who introduced me?
Legendary ESPN programming executive.
Yeah.
Put a lot of people on the air.
Chris Berman. Chris Berman was the one that got me hooked up with Norby. That day on the phone with Norby, where I was just brainstorming, could I do anything for you? He offered me a 3-year contract in the first phone call. And I said, "Norby, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'll do 1 year. How many appearances you thinking?" And he goes, "Somewhere around 50." And I go, "My number was 55. Let's just do number 55. And so I ended up working for ESPN. And that relationship lasted for a long time.
Do you enjoy it? You seem like you are really at home behind the mic. Did it come natural to you?
I don't know if it came natural, but the mechanics of the broadcast can feel at first like what's going on, using talkback, understanding, don't start a story with 1 out and a man on first because a double play could end the inning right then. And now your story is segmented by a commercial, understanding about requesting which replays you want to see and what you see to give the crew a heads up to know that the cameraman can be on that. So at first you've got all these things in your head, which really is good because it kind of can slow you down, which that's what I enjoy about other broadcasters. I enjoy the silence sometimes. I enjoy the aha moments and then let the audience figure out what I said and see it for themselves. People think that if it comes across natural, it does come with some study.
How did you deal with the onset of fame? Just like a movie star, like young people, sometimes it's very hard.
Being a Christian, I saw it as a blessing. I saw it as a responsibility. I saw it as a way that builds hedges around me from some of the LA lifestyle. There's the A group, the B group, the C group, whatever you want to say about parties and invitations. And I avoided a lot of the high-end invitations at the time and really stayed focused on family and baseball. And that kind of kept me humble. I think when you do the interviews and you think about people complimenting you, if you understand where the talent came from, my saying back then was, I don't want God to see me winning awards. I want God to see me trying my best. So if the highlight film of my life is a loss, I don't have to worry about the results. I only have to worry about the effort and being thankful for where the talent and the effort came from. So that was maybe the tool or the mindset that I used to probably, I don't want to say stay humble. I think it was part of who I am.
It sounds like faith has really been an important part of your life and your career and allowing you to succeed at the heights that you have.
It has, but I would say that in a way that I think I've had different styles with my faith through the years. I think that there's the amazing blast of faith when you become a Christian and you feel the warmth and the love and the forgiveness and the grace. And then there's the maturing in your faith. And then there's the shock to your faith when you get a divorce. And then there's the voice that the Bible says that you should have since that sin is in your life or that problem is in your life. And so there's shifts in your faith and shifts in the way you present your faith and who you are. But it doesn't mean you ever lost it from your heart or you lost forgiveness. It just means that you're in a different stage of life and in a deeper and different relationship with God.
What was your relationship like with Vin Scully and Jaime Hereen, the legendary voices of the Dodgers?
Well, one is continuing, of course, with Jaime Hereen, and we just had dinner 2 nights ago at their house. When I'm in town in Los Angeles, we have dinner at least once a week. So we have a very, very close relationship. He calls me son in Spanish, mijo. And when Vinny was with us, I can't say that it was close, but I can say that it was impactful. Close would mean that we talked a lot and we hung out. Vinny didn't do that with any of the players. But if you were around Vinny at an appearance or he was going to introduce you or he was part of something, he was definitely part of the conversation and you learn from watching him. Both of those gentlemen, Jaime more for me, but Vinny, they teach you how to be a Dodger off the field. So you can learn how to be a Dodger on the field. That would be Bert Hooton, Jerry Royce, Mike Scioscia, Fernando when I get up there. You can learn from your teammates about the baseball part. But when they leave the field, they're even learning from Vin Scully and Jaime Hereen and Peter O'Malley and Tommy Lasorda. And so you learn about being a Dodger off the field. And I would say those two were very, very impactful in that way. You would think I would start talking to you about broadcasting or lessons I learned from Vin Scully. There are a few, and from Jaime also. I think the number one lesson in broadcasting I've learned from Vin Scully is to take the players to a place where the audience doesn't care about the game until they care about the people. So if you make the people alive, they will care about the game.
Orel Hershiser, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Cynthia.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. In keeping with our sports theme, keep an eye out on August 21st for Apple TV premiering its 3-part docuseries, The Dynasty, Yukon Huskies. The series looks at the astonishing 40-year reign of the University of Connecticut women's basketball team under head coach Gino Arema. Before we go, congrats to longtime NBC News producer Tammy Fine. She's been promoted to lead talent development for the division as a VP. Fine joined NBC News in 1993 as an intern working on NBC Nightly News. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Todd Spangler. Sticks, Nicks, Hick, Picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.